Hello and welcome to today's Yin Yoga class where we will focus on deep hip release. Is where the head of the femur bone nestles into the acetibulum. It's a big word, or as they call it, a little cup of vinegar. The word acetibulum comes from acet, meaning acid. The hip region is tightly bound to give it stability, and therefore it can feel like it's glued together through sitting, overexertion, lack of activity, or injury. Tight muscles, like a gripping fist, resist the flow of energy through the connective tissue and arteries. This physical tightening reminds us that things in life we are bound to are also the things that take away our freedom. We bond our thoughts through rigid views. We entrench ourselves in our own righteousness and wrongness, and we can cut deeper grooves with our habit and our long-held beliefs. The purpose of today's class is to release your hips so that you can get the energy flowing more freely. Like this video, please remember to share it with someone, like or give it a subscribe. For today's class, you do not need any props, especially if you're new to Yin Yoga. I wouldn't recommend props. Props are used in Yin Yoga to go deeper into a pose. So if you're just starting out, you don't need a block. If you have been doing Yin for a while, you can grab a block. That is, we'll use a block in one pose. Coming onto your mat in seated position. So let's set an intention for today's practice. That could be a word. It could be something that you're manifesting. Maybe you want to dedicate your practice to someone today. Whatever it is, set that intention now. And take a deep breath in. And exhale, heart center. We're going to begin in seated pose with some Ujjayi breathing. Ujjayi breathing is also known as oceanic breathing, and it is done by inhaling, sealing your lips shut, and then when you exhale, you constrict the back of your throat as you're exhaling through your nose. So it sounds literally like the ocean. Goes like this. So let's just start that for a few minutes here. Breathing in through your nose and exhaling out through your nose. Feeling your body, making a note of what you're feeling right now. What parts of your body are you noticing? What parts of it need attention? Continue to inhale and exhale. Starting at the bottom of your feet, relaxing your toes, relaxing your ankles. So you move your way up through the front of your legs and the backs of your calves and your knees, thighs, just letting it all go, relaxing. Prepare to open up your hips. Ourselves for our first pose as we move into butterfly pose. So coming onto your mat, sitting, extend your legs out in front of you. Bottoms of your feet are touching each other. The further in you pull your legs, the tighter the stretch is going to be. So if you're not very flexible, you'll want to extend your feet out slightly further. Bottoms of your feet are touching each other. Now this is, again, if you have no blocks at all, you would come, inhale, exhale, come forward, folding at your hips, and just resting into the pose, letting your head dangle as far down as it will come. So this is one way you can come into the pose. Now, as I mentioned, if you have been practicing Yin for a while and you're looking for something a little bit deeper in terms of the stretch, you can use a block and you would put it right on your mat in front of directly in front of your hips, and rest your feet on the block. And you could just sit here in the pose as we hold it. If you want a little bit more from it, you could extend forward and hold the pose like this. Or a third way of doing it would be to use your block, or even you could grab some pillows and just laying back down. If it's too much for your hips to sit up, this is a really good way to open your hips up while you're laying down. So whichever pose works best for you, I encourage you to take it. I'm gonna come back up without the block and hold it. I'm gonna come back up without the block and hold forward. Inhaling and exhaling, you can come back using that Ujjayi breath. And the longer you hold the pose, the more challenging it gets. Just start to make a mental note of what's coming up. We're about halfway there. Okay, taking another couple of breaths, we're gonna come back up. Inhaling, and exhaling, slowly walking your hands up each leg, coming back into neutral position. Let's take a couple of breaths as you roll your way up to the top. And this is with coming onto your mat. I'm gonna do it this way so you guys can see me. Extend your legs straight out in front of you, and you're gonna inhale up and exhale, fold forward. keeping your feet flexed, your legs straight. However, if you're not that flexible and your knees can't be straightened, it's okay to put a bend in it. You could maybe put like a towel underneath your knees if that's helpful. Whatever you have to do, but the point of the position is to fold forward. So we're gonna hold this pose here. And in this pose, you really can notice the hips. Take a mental note. What is it? What are you feeling right now? What are your hips trying to tell you? We can become stuck with expectations on how we think life should be, but when we are bound, we're no longer free. So what thoughts do you have that you are bound to, that you could maybe diagnose and take a look at it a little bit closer, asking where that thought is coming from? Your hands can be either down on the sides, or you can be grabbing your feet, or maybe they're resting on the top of your legs. Whatever feels best for you. I feel like this pose gives my hips a break. It's just doing so much good for me. Taking all the pressure off. Taking your final breaths in this pose. Inhale, make your way back up as you walk your hands on top of your legs, coming back into neutral position. After that, we're going to want to give ourselves a counter pose, so let's do some windshield wipers. Just tipping your knees to each, your right side and your left side. Go back and forth 3 times. And as I'm doing this stretch, I also like to really emphasize it in the back, in my back, and stretch those back muscles through your shoulder blades as you're doing it. You don't have to, but it's just a good added shoulder stretch. I like to double stack my stretches, you know. All right, coming back coming on to all fours. The next pose we're gonna take is called dragon pose. So inhaling, exhaling into downward facing dog. We're gonna inhale and put our right foot in between our 2 hands at the top of our mat. And let's rest our knee on the ground. Rest the top of your foot on the ground. Move your right arm on the inside of your right foot. And we're gonna sit here in this pose for a few minutes. So my hands are completely on the mat. If you wanna go deeper, this pose is not doing it for you. You can come down on your elbows to get a better stretch. So whichever feels good for you. Find your zone and get settled in. Using your Ujjayi breathing to help get you through this next few minutes here. Usually about after a minute on this one, things start to get a little uncomfortable. Just take note of it. If you are ever in any kind of pain, that is your cue to stop immediately what you're doing. The goal of yoga, Yin Yoga, the goal of Yin Yoga is to push ourselves into further, but not at the cost of pain. It's all about finding your edge, find your edge. You're doing great. We have just about another minute or so left on this side, and we'll switch to the other one afterwards. All right, coming back into all fours, tabletop position. Slowly bring your right knee back to meet the other one. Hands are below your shoulders. And let's take an inhale and exhale. Inhale, coming up into downward facing dog. And then we're gonna exhale, bring that left foot forward in between your front hands. And then taking that left arm on the inside of your left leg, resting your knee on the ground, top of your foot is on the ground. And we're gonna settle in for a few minutes on this side. Using your ujjayi breathing. You might know one side maybe is a little bit more stable or unstable than the other. Just make a mental note of that. You should be sharing the weight of your body evenly distributed through your back right knee, your front left foot, and both of your hands on the mat. Head can be hanging, dangling. And this is a really good hip opener. You, I'm sure, are feeling it right now. You guys are doing awesome. Hang in there. Just push your way through the levels of uncomfortableness. The stronger we can become on the mat, it carries over into our legs and every aspect off the mat. Got about another minute or so left. All right, taking a final breath in. And we're gonna exhale. Bring your left foot Left knee comes behind to meet your right knee, and we're in tabletop position, and we're gonna take an extended child's pose here. So walking your hands out directly in front of you, knees are about mat distance apart, and then sink your chest down onto the mat. And let's just stay here for about a minute. Okay, walking your hands back towards your legs, coming back onto all fours, we're gonna come into a downward facing dog. So extending your right and your left legs behind you, straightening them out, pushing your chest towards the floor. In downward facing dog, let's inhale, walk our feet up towards the top of our mat, and we're just going to hang here in forward facing fold, or also known as dangling in Yin Yoga. And your feet can be, hands can be in front of you, on the sides of your feet. You can clasp your hands behind you, whatever feels good. We're just gonna hang, in this pose for a few minutes here. Really be feeling that stretch in the backs of your legs, your hamstrings, the backs of your quads, the backs of your calves even. It's just a really beautiful, deep, nice stretch for your whole backside of your body. Alright, let's taking an inhale. Bring your hands up to your shins, and then exhale, come back down to downward facing dog, and then back onto all fours. We're gonna bring our knees forward and sit on your bum, making our way down to the mat, to our final poses. First, we're gonna take Bananasana. Taking your feet, extend them to the right corner of your mat, and then take your hips and move them all the way to the left side of your mat. Extend your arms above your head and stretch towards the right side of your body, and then you can even grab your wrist for a deeper stretch in the body, but it's like we're making the shape of a banana, hence the name Bananasana. Settling into this pose for a few minutes here on our
to push off filming this class today because I went for a bike ride, and afterwards I realized my body was really heated up. It was quite hot, and you never want to do a Yin Yoga when your body is heated up or after a vigorous workout, because you could do damage to your body. So you always want to make sure you're starting from a cool body temperature. Release your body, release your arms, and back into neutral position. Just for a few moments here, take an inhale and exhale. Alright, on your next inhale, let's plant our feet on the left corner of our mat. Our right hip comes to the right side of our mat, and then we extend our body to our left side. Arms come up, and then extending that right leg, right arm, giving a stretch. Taking our final breaths on this side, inhaling and exhaling. And then on your next inhale, and let's exhale back to center. Give your knees a bend. We're going to come back up into windshield wipers. And that'll be our last move before we move into Shavasana. So windshield wipers 3 times on each side. Really feeling this stretch through each hip as you bend its respective way. Alright, we're moving into our final pose as we extend our legs straight out into Savasana, letting our entire body just melt into our mat. Your feet flop out to each side, arms flop open, hands are resting. Head is comfortably on the mat, and just inhale. Remember to inhale and exhale as we take our final moments of start to bring life back into your body. We just celebrated this beautiful practice. We opened our hips, bending your knees, rolling over to either your right or your left side into fetal position, resting your head on your arm. Take a couple of deep breaths. And then inhaling, making your way back into easy seated pose. Let's extend your arms above your head, taking a big inhale and exhaling down into center, coming back to that intention that you set at the beginning of class, sealing it with love. I want to thank you so much for attending this hip opener class today. If you haven't downloaded my free ebook on beginner Yin and restorative yoga, please do so. I will link it below. And I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Namaste.